Pasty White, and today we're coming at you from my downstairs garage, which is a ridiculous mess. I mean, look at this. Garbage everywhere. Charizard, what? Anyways, so today, as the title says, we're going to cover the Murray lawnmower, safety switch bypass. So I've had this Murray, about a year now, a little over a year. And so I bought it from old country old dude, and he told me he said now Shannon's my real name. He said Shannon, now I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. He said the solenoid's messed up on it, and you going to have to take and bypass the switch. You know, turn the switch over and just hotwire the thing every time you go use it. That's all you gotta do. And he seemed pretty insistent that was going to be it. That was all that had to happen, and that was just gonna be no problem. Well, boy, was he wrong. So I've had this for about a year, and for the whole year I've been hot wiring it to crank it and run it, and be able to do everything I need to do with it. And this is the 17 horsepower Briggs and Stratton engine. This is older. I think it's like a 2003 Murray. Sorry, disconnected me. Anyways, it was really cool. I'm glad it let me just pick right back up where I left off. Anyways, so as I was saying, yeah, old dude told me, said the solenoid's bad. Said you're gonna have to replace the solenoid. He said if you do that, the key switch will work. Well, I replaced the solenoid, and this is the one that we put on, and it was brand new when I put it on, and it did not fix the problem. So we continued, to jump the solenoid, bypass the switch, and this whole past year we've crunk it. Anyways, this cutting season, I came down here a couple of weeks ago to cut grass because my yard is atrocious, as you can see. And it wouldn't start. Even jumping it, like it was just barely wanting to jump. And we do have to charge the battery, but I've got it plugged up on a slow charger. And, that does keep it charged, so that wasn't a problem. But anyways, so I did some research, and I thought last year that it might have been a safety switch issue, but I didn't want to take the time to sit down and fix it. Well, this year, when I had to buy another new solenoid, I said, and there it is right there. I said, you know what? So I'm gonna go ahead and fix it. I'm gonna go ahead and bypass these safety switches, see what I can do, and see if that'll fix the thing. So this in particular Murray has 3 safety switches. Count them: 1, 2, 3. The first one is a seat safety switch. So if you fall off of the lawnmower, this one was, to cut the engine off. Oh, and by the way, here's a good time to stick in a really good disclaimer. If you do this at home and you get hurt, that is your own fault. I'm not going to accept any kind of liability. This is purely for informational purposes. Maybe to help you understand the electrical system of a Murray, or maybe you need to bypass the safety switches to see if the engine's still good or whatever. This is not something you should be doing, just to have a lawnmower that runs. But, I mean, that's what I did. But you shouldn't do that. That's not safe. It's very unsafe. Anyways, that being said, I bypassed the seat switch first. I just cut it straight off and bonded the 2 wires together. Now, and the reason this has to happen, is because on these Murrays, this yellow wire acts as a ground. And so when the system, to act as an emergency shutoff, it'll suddenly, it disconnects the ground of the system. And when that happens, it'll shut the motor off. So that yellow ties in here under the seat, and I don't know, yep, we can see it right there. The yellow ties in right there where the battery cable grounds off to the frame. So that is switch number 1. Now, switch number 2 was tied in right here, and it was 2 cords on it. Now the orange is a hot wire, and the yellow is the ground again, sorry. So once again, we clamped it, and heat shrunk it. Put 2 heat shrinks on each one. That was just a personal preference. It doesn't really matter. But I did two sets of heat shrinks on each connector that we spliced. But anyways, this one was the one that was just inside of here that disconnected based on the blade lever. There you go. And then we had a third one that was under here. And this might have actually been the one that was under there. Yeah, I apologize. These 2 were for the brake / clutch. These were the safety switch for that. And then in here, my apologies. Well, if it'll let me get in there. Sorry, my phone's a little big and it's making me keep it in portrait mode. And then right here you see the last one. Now this one was 4 yellows They were all ran. They were, they were spliced separately. Of course, it was two before the switch and two after the switch spliced, and then the safety switch connected them together. That was for this lever. This one, yes, this lever right here for the blades. Anyways, so with all of that said, it created a ground. It actually grounded the system off, bypassing the safety switches, which all three of them were bad, by the way. Which was the only reason you really need to bypass them. Is if they're bad or there might be a fault with them. So, anyways, we bypassed them, and the switch worked. The engine was turning over, but we could not get it to start. The spark plug wouldn't spark. So I went and bought a multimeter, and I've got it through down right here. I went and bought a multimeter, and so I tested the spark plug, and it showed adequate resistance for its build. And then we multimetered the aperture. I think it's called an aperture. I've got the old one, the one that we took off last year, because I changed it out too. Got it laying around somewhere. Anyways, I checked it, and it showed continual resistance throughout the system. Here's the old one. So this one's no good, but the one that's on there, it showed adequate continual resistance throughout the entire, from the spark plug all the way to the ground, which this is the ground for this aperture right there, that little tag right there. That's the ground. Anyway, so it showed adequate resistance all the way through, which meant that meant that the copper coil inside the aperture was continuous. It wasn't broken anywhere, and so that indicated an adequate flow. It meant that it would work. Anyway, so all of those things came together, and like I said, we tried to crank it, and we wasn't getting a spark. So I did a little more research, and I thought that the aperture had to be grounded to function. Wrong. The aperture does not have to be grounded to function. So disconnecting ground from the aperture allows the key switch to still work right here. It allows this to actually turn the motor over, and the aperture will still actually spark off if you disconnect the ground. So, if in my particular situation, to fix my very specific problem, I cut the seat safety switch, the brake safety switch, and the blade lever safety switch off, spliced straight through them, and then disconnected the aperture ground. I slide the motor to turn over, which you see it just turned over with the key. I'll do it again. See, allowed it to turn over, and it it now actually fires. So let me get on it, because since we have deactivated a few safety features, it is a neutral, but just in case, this is extra safety precaution. Still going to use the brake. Uh-oh. Battery's probably almost dead. Let's see, it's charging. This is what I get for coming down here and messing with it without it being charged. Let's see if it'll do it. The choke. Anyways. The battery's so dead. It's so dead, and it probably is in desperate need of an oil change. Yeah. Got over here goofing off with it. I managed to kill it. Well, you saw it turn over, and you heard it crank for like 3 seconds, but yeah, the choke wasn't adjusted, so that's my fault. Miss Murray's definitely got to have some work to it. But I mean, it's a $200 lawnmower, so you can't really expect a whole lot out of it, I don't guess. But yeah, guys, I hope this helps fix your problem if you've got a problem. I know I was stressing pretty hard on trying to figure out, how I needed to bypass the safety switches, which ones were okay and which ones were not. Now in the link below, in the description, I will include a link to the wire diagram schematics that go to this specific lawnmower, which it is a 42507 by 92 or X92. I don't know how I actually say that, but yeah, that's it. Anyways, yeah, I'll include a link to the diagram below so that you can actually see how it lines up. And when you're looking at it, just make sure you remember, yellow is a fault, or not a fault. Yellow is a ground wire. Orange is hot. Actually, orange being a hot wire is what allows that solenoid to open. If you're not familiar with how solenoids work, this left red wire right here, is to the battery. The right goes to the starter, and the orange acts as like a remote type wire. And actually, you see right there where the jacket's torn off. That's where the guy that sold me the lawnmower had it spliced. So he had a wire running from the battery to that red wire right there, or to the orange wire where it's spliced right there. He had that taped up with another wire off of it, and then he had them ran up, sticking out of the top of the plate right here. And he said, "Yeah," said, "just hot wire, just press these two wires together and it'll start. Place solenoid, and solenoid was not bad." Anyways, yeah, that's how that works. Batteries on the left, starters on the right, uh, and then when you turn the switch over, right there, when you turn the switch over, it runs power down to that orange wire if it's properly grounded, which is what the yellow wire is for. Um, then it will create a complete circuit. The orange will power the solenoid, which will open up the mechanism on the inside and allowing continuous flow of power into the starter. Yay! But yeah, I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, of course, comment. I typically try to respond for the first couple of years that a video's up. I've still got some that I posted when I was like 17. I still respond to every now and then. So, yeah, drop me a like. Give me that big thumbs up. Every YouTuber asks for it. I'm not really big time, but whatever. Give me a thumbs up. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.